Okay. Well, my mic was muted. That's cool. Okay. Getting started. Got some music going. The chimp is here. Investigating. Investigating. Okay. Let's see here. I think I'm gonna bring up, so if, in case we don't have any questions, I think I'm just gonna go to the Lucid Dreaming Reddit. Let's see. Oh, we already got a question. Awesome. Hi, Curly Lighting. Welcome, welcome. What do I think of the Rousis method and why? Well, you know what? I am not totally up and up on this method, so why don't we just take a look at it? Let me see if I can... I'm gonna see if I can, okay, bring this to the top here. Now, why isn't it showing? That's odd. Oh, that's why. So I found this on Scribed just now, so that we can go over it. Okay, so actually I'm gonna blow this. Oh, I can't blow it up, can I? Okay. Well, it's pretty big on the screen. Should be okay. Alright, so I've heard of it before, read through it a while back, but I've never used it. And this appears uploaded by Auto. Okay, having dedicated many years, blah 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 blah. Uh-huh. Okay. Right, external noises. Right. So there's actually been a number of scientific studies done on external noise induced lucid dreams. This is actually one of the three methods of lucid dreaming. One is dream initiated lucid dreams, DILD. The other is wake initiated lucid dream, WILD, WILD. And the last one that researchers came up with, I think in the 90s, is EILD, externally initiated lucid dream. And that is like light, sound, electrical charges. So I'll actually put an electrical pulse in somebody's brain to see if it'll trigger a lucid dream. There's a new product actually on the way that's claiming that they will use ultrasound to induce a lucid dream. Alright, so it looks like this is the technique here. Set the phone alarm exactly 3 minutes before the alarm clock. I see. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I remember this part. So you wake up. So you basically do a wake back to bed, a very short one. You hit the snooze button immediately. I mean, you could also use, there's an app called Alarm Clock Extreme, and probably other apps too, where the alarm turns off automatically, and you can control that. The name of the device, I believe it was called Halo. Yes, it's called Halo. And that one, I'll put that on the screen real quick. Okay. So this is on a website called prophetic.com. And the cropping is a little weird because I cropped it for the other window. But let me see if I can find a picture of the program or the product. Okay, here we go. So this is obviously concept art. I think this is like obviously to me it seems pretty clearly a 3D render. But that's what it's supposed to look like. It's a headband, and you wear the headband, and it is meant to, as it says there, induce lucid dreams through dorsolateral prefrontal cortex activation using ultrasound. Now the thing is that they have a lot of claims on their website, but they do not have any studies yet. They were actually, last time I checked, we're trying to get people to volunteer to involve themselves in a study using this device. So that is yet to be seen whether or not that is a viable option. I've seen studies using electrical stimulation for lucid dreams, and it's not really that great. It doesn't really seem to work at all. So it seems that it's actually the novelty for the participants being in a lab setting that is doing stuff. There isn't really any appreciable difference using electrical stimulus. So yeah, I mean, LaBerge himself was involved in a study using acetylcholine inhibitors. Or no, the opposite, not inhibitors, like enhancers, because acetylcholine, the release of acetylcholine has been associated with the onset of lucid dreams. There's a lot of interesting things that people have done with the prefrontal cortex and brain chemistry. I'm spacing on the galantamine. Been using galantamine. Hey Sherazar, welcome, welcome. So curly lighting, in terms of devices, I would actually go with, where's my mouse? My mouse isn't in OBS. Oh, there it is. Let's turn down the music a little bit. If you're gonna go with a device, I would go with a headband. The music always gets loud at some point. Oops, what did I just do? I don't like YouTube Music's volume thing. Spotify gives you a lot more volume levels to play with. Anyway, I'm just gonna lower on OBS. So I would go with, yeah, exactly. So the device that uses light when it detects REM. So I would go with something like that. There's also headsets that have light and sound. So who was it? Let's see. I forget exactly. There's a number of these masks out there, or there's masks, headbands. But I think the good ones detect REM, and they also use light and sound. I think that's a good one. It's even better if it's linked, if you can link it to an app, because then it can actually tell you when you are in REM, and you can kind of figure out how to match that up to an alarm. So I say back to the Rousey's technique. I think this is worth trying. Like whenever somebody asks me, is a technique good or not? Is it actually good? Like it's basically saying, is it going to work? And different techniques work differently, and they work for different people. Some don't work. Like it depends on the personal. There's so many different techniques. It's usually useful to try it, but also there's another thing, which is like it may not work the first time. It may work for you in the long run, but it may not work the first try. So there's that too. So what I would do is think about how you sleep. Are you a deep sleeper, a light sleeper? Do you sleep with somebody else? Are you worried about alarm noise? Um, can you wake up easily? Can you go back to sleep easily? So think about in terms of how you sleep, your sleep patterns, habits, and try to find techniques that fit in that sense. So if you have a hard time falling back to sleep, maybe don't do wake back to bed. Maybe do other techniques. Um, you know, um, if you have like zero recall forever, maybe lean into wild a little bit. Maybe try a little bit more wake back to bed and some alarms. Maybe some REM rebound stuff where like, and this usually only works on a weekend when you don't have school or work, but you wake up after 4 hours and stay up for a few hours. That'll give you a pretty good REM rebound trigger, but some people have a hard time getting back to sleep doing that. So very subjective. Um, so anyway, I think this is a good technique. I've actually done this before, but it wasn't to hear a noise. It was, I mean, it was, but it was to give myself multiple small awakenings using an alarm that would turn off automatically. And I have to do something that's really jarring, right? Especially for your second sound here. So like if you're doing the rouses, it seems like it would be most effective if you just give yourself a real quick jarring sound to wake yourself up, become aware enough to know, okay, I'm awake, this is happening, and then your next sound would be something that you're expecting, but it's not as jarring to wake you up out of sleep. So the noise should appear in your dreams. You will hear it in your dreams. Yeah, I mean that seems like a pretty solid way to go about it. Okay. Yeah, it shares our headbands for lucid dreams have been around for a while. Stephen LaBerge was developing one in the 90s. And there's my targeted ad for the day. Yes, I already bought a chair, and now, you know, I'm getting inundated with chair ads. Um, so yeah, I mean, Stephen LeBaer's mask thing didn't really care. He didn't really do a lot with that, as far as I know. I do know that the guide that we have in the resources channel, under in the methods and techniques area, there's a link to Stephen LeBaer's Lucid Dreaming course, and in his course, he uses the device that he developed quite a bit. So it's a free PDF linked in the resources channel. Stephen LeBaer's his own personal lucid dreaming course, and where is it? Nova Dreamer. There it is. So he uses this device, which he helped create, Nova Dreamer. It's not available anymore. There's plenty of other masks on the market now. Plenty. Of course, Michael Radiga just came out with a mask, um, and I believe his can link to software. I'm not sure though, but the good ones now will link to an app or software, and will actually give you data about your sleep. So it'll tell you when you are in REM and so on. The main problem with it for me would be that the sound of the second alarm keeps going. Yeah, that's why you need an alarm that'll turn off automatically. Um, so Alarm Clock Extreme turns off automatically, and you can select how long the alarm will go um, before it turns off. Really, this thing just repeats ads forever? Okay. I used to have a Scribed membership. It's a really great website. It's there's a lot of questionable copyright stuff on here, but whatever. I think there's actually some coursework from Stephen LaBerge on Scribed as well. I don't remember though. Maybe some. I might be remembering something else. Anyway, yeah, just buy a second chair. That's nice chairs are expensive. Um, so if I was doing rouses, what I would do is I would use my normal alarm sound, and then for my second alarm, I would probably do something like something very unique, something you wouldn't ordinarily hear, and something that I could train myself to recognize. Um, you know, I don't know. Could be anything really. Sound of an elephant. Um, you know, the sound of a, I don't know. Could be anything really. And then I'd probably set that to go off like for 10, 15 seconds. Um, I'm getting distracted by my cats. Okay, so what is your anchor if you've done wild? Charizard. Okay. So I've done wild a number of times, and when I first started, it's funny. So I used to lucid dream when I was a kid. That's how I learned on my own, like through nightmares and stuff. And a lot of my lucid dreams at that time were wild, at the beginning of the night. And so I would, because I would force myself to stay awake, and then I would get sleep paralysis, and then that would lead me into a dream. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about that. Like there've been a lot of people that will say like you have to go into sleep paralysis to do wild, and um, but and or you can't lucid dream at the beginning of the night. But like those things are very difficult for typically for people, and I think it's because like the way I got into it was literally forcing myself to stay awake um, for hours. So I would lay in bed for hours at night, but I would be very still, and my body would relax, and my body would fall asleep, but my mind would be awake, and that's when you go into sleep paralysis. And sometimes I could get myself out, sometimes I couldn't. I found ways to break sleep paralysis, moving the eyes, different things, but sometimes I would get totally paralyzed, totally trapped. Um, but anyway, so that trained me how to enter a lucid dream like at the beginning of the night. Now I can't really do that on command anymore. Um, I know how to develop that skill, but I don't have that skill anymore. The last time I had a lucid dream when I first went to sleep was like a year and a half ago or so. Um, so anyway, so I've tried a lot of when I started back lucid dreaming as an adult. The first lucid dream I had was a wild. So I went to like a job interview at like 8 in the morning. I only got like 5 hours of sleep. Came back home, laid down, and I was I was sleeping on the floor on a mattress, and then as I'm falling asleep, I feel myself like falling asleep, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dreaming. I'm asleep. And so I rolled out of my body onto the floor. You know, and it's funny just saying that, right? Because you're in a dream. There is no floor. There is no body. There's no rolling. But these are all like mental models that your mind uses to navigate and move. But just doing that moved my mind from, okay, I'm falling asleep, I'm asleep, I'm going into a dream, to being fully in a dream. So that's an interesting thing about wild is a lot of times you have these schema and mental models that will actually serve as a transition. And the better you get at wild, the less you need those. Um, to where you'll just be able to, okay, I'm dreaming now. All right, I'm going to create a scene, you know, which, it can take a long time, but so in terms of anchors, let's see. Some of them have been effective for me. Drum beat. Um, but like something that's really distinct. Like there's these tracks on. I'll just play it. There's these tracks. Let's see. And I think the track that I had used isn't available anymore. But what I was using is just like a deerskin drum, and that was it. It was just like something like this, but it was like constant. It was almost like a metronome. Um, I'm pretty sure it was like a BPM. It's like 100 BPM. I forget. Anyway, so that one was really effective for me. I've used a fan, white noise, people talking podcasts. Although the people talking and like stuff like that tended to mess with me because it would create a lot of hypnagogia, and then I would kind of get lost in it. So that's a risk, but there's that as well. Um, so yeah, sounds. But now when I do wild, I think my most effective anchor now is actually just the feeling of sinking into my bed. And so I'll usually lay on my stomach when I go back to sleep, and um, and then I'll just like let my mind kind of get absorbed into the feeling of like sinking into my bed. And just it's really just about having a it's really just about having something for your mind to hold on to as you fall asleep. Um, how do I feel myself falling asleep? Um, Usually my hearing goes away. I'll realize like I can't hear anything anymore. Can't hear myself breathing. Um, I can't feel anything anymore. So my senses will start to shut down. So when you fall asleep, there's a part of your brain called the thalamus, and it processes sensory perceptions. So that's where okay, the your eardrum is getting all the vibrations. Your your all your skin, your nerve endings are bringing in information. The thalamus takes all that and is kind of like the first processing point. Um, and when you fall asleep, that shuts down, and so um, you're going to lose um, you're going to lose some senses, right? You're going to start, okay, I can't hear anything anymore, I can't feel anything anymore. So those are usually the signs for me. A lot of people lose awareness before that happens, and so they don't actually ever experience that. Um, and so that's where it's like, well, can you use the anchor to stay awake long enough to experience that? And a lot of times when you first experience that stuff, you're gonna have to remember it happening because you're not actually gonna realize it in the moment. The next morning or whatever, you're gonna be like, okay, I remember this happening, and you'll end up like piecing it together over time, over many attempts, and slowly realizing, okay, this is how it works. And so a lot of times for wild, it's more about learning how to fall asleep than learning how to stay aware. Did I listen to it or did I play it? I listened. Are you talking about the Remy mask? The Remy mask is one of them, but I'm not sure if that was one of the new ones. I think I've seen. I've seen reviews of lucid dreaming masks. I mean, I don't want to like review because I haven't actually used these, so I can't really say what works or not. But what I would say is if you can find a mask, if you want to use a mask, find one that can link to an app and um, find one that uses light and audio. So that's what I would suggest. Like lucid dreaming mask review list. I remember, oh yeah, the Somni mask. So Brian Gillen, who did the Tech for Dreaming Discord. It's a good Discord, by the way. I'll put this on the screen here. So this is the Somni mask, and I believe the Somni mask was one of the Kickstarter masks. Anyway, this is one I believe that has. Oh, what did I just do? That has visual and audio, I think. Yeah, it has earphones. So it'll sense REM, it'll use a flashing light, and it'll use audio. But you should know, Brian Gillen's review, I remember reading this. In summary, ineffective. So the thing here is with the masks, and I've heard this from a number of people that bought them, masks do not just give you lucid dreams. Okay. So think about it this way. These lights may interrupt your sleep. These sounds may interrupt your sleep. But in order to make them truly effective, you would actually have to incubate and mentally prepare yourself for this and train yourself. You have to train yourself so that the mask will actually be effective and be like, okay, I'm going to see this light. I'm going to hear this sound, that sort of thing. So it's kind of like it's an assistance, but it's definitely not. It's not going to be 100%. And honestly, from what just anecdotally from what I've heard about masks, they tend to be disappointing for people um, because they still require a lot of work. Now, I remember. I think it also depends on the person because there's somebody who is like a DEILD, like dream exit induced lucid dream. Like that's pretty much all the lucid dreams they have. The dream exit lucid dreams, and they did a mask, and it gave them like constant false awakenings, which is like a precursor to a lucid dream. So for that person, it worked amazingly well because they could then be like, okay, it's going to give me false awakenings. I can turn those false awakenings into lucid dreams. But for the most people that I've heard, doesn't really work very well. Unless you've already got, unless you think it can fit in. Depends on how deep you a sleeper you are. How do you respond to alarms? How do you respond to external stimuli? If you know that, if you can kind of figure that out, you probably know how well a mask can work for you. Let's see. There was, I had read a list. It was on howtolucid.com. Now this was a while ago. And he did, here I'm gonna, Okay, so he looked at, yeah, this was a while ago, before Somni was released. Um, oh, there's a raven in the city. That's rare. I live in the city and there's usually nothing. What is a raven doing here? Like the city is pretty much all crows. You never see a raven. That's pretty cool. Um, let's see. Lucid Dreaming headband. Well, light and sound, I guess that works. This is why I'm broke. So this one, it's going to read your, looks like this one has an EEG. Yep. So this one has an EEG. So this one is actually sensing brain waves. And then we'll use audio and visual to induce. Let's see. There's actually quite a few now. Somni. This is like a different spelling. That's interesting. Okay, so this one actually has an app. It's pretty pricey. But these would be ideal. This is the type that would be ideal. It looks like it reads. Looks like it reads EEG. Looks pretty comfortable too. Oh, it kind of looks like the How to Lucid guy. A stimulation session. Oh, what does that mean? Is this like sending signals into your brain? Why doesn't it have like more information? This is rather confusing. Not a lot of information on this page. Huh. Oh, that is the website. Okay. Oh, the whole web. I see. The whole website is the. Okay. Hmm. It actually stimulates. It's actually sending an electrical stimulation. Oh, that's fascinating. A stim session. Wow, we are in the future. Kinda creepy. Kinda creepy. Let's see. Okay. Cuts the time to fall asleep, increases sleep duration, reduces overnight tossing and turning. Fascinating. Huh. So this isn't actually, the main selling point is not lucid dreams. This isn't a lucid dreaming headband. This is for sleep health. That's fascinating though. Huh. I mean, at some point, I believe there are products out there that do both. Sweet dreams in a headband. Oh, that's why. Dream wrap. 35 bucks. Oh, the same thing. Just like electrical stimulation to try to help you sleep better. I'm pretty sure there's like almost zero science for that, but okay. Oh, here we go. Oh, yes, I'd rather pay full price. Anyway, so yeah, there's masks out there. All right. Good luck. Curly Lightning. Best lucid dreams. Yes, I believe. All right. Well, just spent 40 minutes talking about wild and masks. That's pretty good. I think I'm going to just troll Reddit real quick, just for the funsies. Um, although my window capture is a little weird. It's very zoomed in. I forget why. I did it on purpose, but I don't remember. Right. Hey, where'd it go? There it is. I mean, I may as well zoom in, right? Because well, let's see. Why would people want sleep paralysis? Hey, imagine that. Just talking about it. It's a very common subject. Very common. Okay, well, let's see if I can adjust my thing here so it can actually be legible on screen. And then we'll take a look. All right. The chimp is on the case. Yeah, I'm never saying that again. Okay. Why would people want sleep paralysis? I was reading about sleep paralysis and saw people asking how to trigger it. Why would anybody want sleep paralysis? It's scary as. This person must be British because that's a British turn of phrase. Just kidding. Yeah, no problem. Curly. That's what these are for. Glad you come and ask questions. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through this real quick, and if anybody else, any other questions come up in chat, I will answer those. But this, trolling Reddit's always fun. So let's just look at the question. Why would people want sleep paralysis? Well, number one, people want sleep paralysis because they're told that it's necessary to wild. So that would probably be the biggest reason in the lucid dreaming community why people would want it. I've also heard people want sleep paralysis because they heard that they'll see spirits or beings or, hallucinate, and they want to experience that. I think those are the two reasons I've heard, really. But yeah, let's see what people say. If you understand what it is, it's more fascinating than anything. If I had experienced it before learning about it, though, I would absolutely panic. Yeah, it can be pretty intense sometimes. A lot of people, they used to call it old hag syndrome, and this is actually a thing on Wikipedia. Night hag, and it's this famous art here, and you can't really see the whole thing because, whatever. Anyways, it's a demon-looking thing sitting on a woman's chest, and that is an interesting way to sleep, but who am I to judge? To each their own. If you prefer sleeping with your head off the bed and your arms askew, why not? I could see why, if you slept that way, that you might get uncomfortable in your midsection. Yeah, so, oftentimes there's a feeling of pressure in the chest, maybe feeling like you can't breathe. Of course, there's the nightmare in the background with his frickin' weirdo smile. You weirdo. I'm the nightmare. Ho 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 ho. Get it? Um, so pressure on the chest, not being able to breathe, hallucinations, usually violent or unpleasant hallucinations. I've heard, hallucinations of being choked, being suffocated, um, that sort of thing. I've experienced that myself. Um, my most recent experience of sleep paralysis, I guess you could call it sleep paralysis. The thing is like there's this weird gray area where, I woke up and I didn't move. I looked at the ceiling and I started going back to sleep. And then I realized like I was starting to feel that pressure. I'm like, oh, it's sleep paralysis. Interesting. But is it really sleep paralysis? Because paralysis means you can't move. Um, but, also there's something called rematonia, which is your body being paralyzed so that you don't move during REM. But there's also when you fall asleep, you lose your senses, your thalamus shuts down. And so you also have interesting sensations when that happens as well. So there's kind of this hybrid state where anything could happen, and putting labels on it sometimes doesn't help. And so then you have hundreds of people trying to induce sleep paralysis to get a lucid dream, which is not ideal. Um, what people should be doing if they want to induce a lucid dream through, from waking, is learning how they fall asleep. And if you go to bed before you're tired, say, 30 minutes to an hour before you normally go to bed when you're not tired, and you lay in bed for an hour or so, maybe more, then you can experience that. Doesn't mean it's sleep paralysis, by the way. It just means you're probably going to experience some pieces of falling asleep, like numbness in your body or loss of hearing, that sort of thing. When I tried it, I felt like my body was being sucked through a straw through my stomach, and that was very unpleasant, and it caused a very extreme sense of paranoia and dread, existential dread. So that was more of a derealization kind of experience where I felt like I was out of my body, and it triggered some paranoia, probably from, you know, a lot of experiences when I was a kid. Although if I did that again, I'd probably be okay. It was a while ago. I just haven't tried it in a while. Well, that's how I would induce sleep paralysis. Is um, I would just lay in bed, long before I get tired, and just and experience whatever there is to experience. Um, but yeah, most people would absolutely panic. But yeah, what does this person say? Steamy Deck. That's what happened to me when I was 14. I experienced sleep paralysis before the internet. Had no way of finding an explanation for it. I was deeply religious at the time. Right. Oh, and heard coast to coast. Nice. Um, so interesting. Yeah, I mean, these experiences are often associated with spirituality, mystical experiences, because they're so intense, and they seem so real, and the variety of experiences that can come along with it. A lot of times, seeing beings, communicating with them, um, and in terms of like abductions, sleep paralysis. This is also associated with trauma, out of body experiences, derealization. There's a lot of crossover with trauma, deep trauma, and it's very common for people to dissociate or have out-of-body experiences when traumatic things are happening. Yeah, it's kind of a coping mechanism. You're just like, well, I'm not here anymore. Goodbye. Um, and so, yeah, oftentimes these experiences can lead people to believe things when I think a lot of it is just, you know, intense things outside of our understanding. Our mind is far more powerful than we realize. Yeah, again, freaked me out. Yeah. It's gonna be like this for the rest of my life. Yeah. hmm Yeah. Yeah, and this is like I'm a bit jealous. I don't get sleep paralysis demons, so like people kind of like they want to see what it's like to experience these, hallucinations and these beings that happen. They want to, they want to experience it because it's fun. Yeah, can be a gateway to lucid dreaming. You can experience hallucinations, have all kinds of things happen. Let's see. A big alligator that let me pet it. Apparently it was a her. Alligators have beautiful smiles. Alligators are notoriously hard to tell whether they're male or female, as I learned from the alligator, the crocodile hunter. Blah blah blah. Maintenance man. Yeah, I mean, like in the most recent sleep paralysis experience I had, I heard somebody breaking into my apartment, and luckily I was aware and I knew that I was in a dream. But the thing is, like, how do you know you're in a dream? Maybe there is somebody breaking into your apartment, but that's the voice in your head. That's the thought. Maybe it's real. And okay, maybe it is real. Maybe somebody is going to break into my apartment right now. And crap. Well, oh well. That's gonna like yeah, there is a risk of that what you're hearing is real. But if you know that you're in sleep paralysis and you know that these sort of things happen, that scary things happen when you're in this hypnagogic state. If you know that, then when these things happen, it's very, very likely that it is your mind making up things, scary things. I think in generally speaking, this state is scary for us. When we're kids, a lot of times kids are afraid to go to sleep because when you're losing control. It's also there's this scene in Star Trek, and it's one of my favorite scenes. I'm gonna play it actually. Um, and it's this um, super powerful being, and this character, he can do anything, right? He's got like the power of the universe, right? And his group takes away his power and makes him mortal.
Truthfully, Jean-Luc, I've been entirely preoccupied by a most frightening experience of my own. A couple of hours ago, I realized that my body was no longer functioning properly. I felt weak. I could no longer stand. The life was oozing out of me. I lost consciousness.
You fell asleep.
Oh, terrifying.
So when anyway, I'm sure a lot of people forget that um, when we're kids, oftentimes that is a scary experience. Just falling asleep can be a scary experience. And so oftentimes we want somebody there with us to make us feel better, to comfort us. We want a bedtime story. We want a nightlight. The dark. Losing control of your body. This is just naturally a scary experience. And then you add on this experience of hallucinations on top of that, and you know, it's just like it's primed. You're primed to have extremely intense, very strange experiences. So this person, you know, the maintenance man walked into my room with his boots on my carpet, goes to the closets, conditioning unit, etc., etc. Um, and that was interesting. There's a premonition about a broken. That's another aspect of it, I guess. Wish to God someone who wants this condition takes mine from me. I'm so tired of waking up scared. And yeah, this is the dark side. You know, a lot of people experience sleep paralysis and they don't want to, and it can be traumatic. Um, you know, as traumatic as you can imagine. And going to sleep every night, knowing that you're going to have this experience and that you can't avoid it, it can be really uncomfortable. Really, just it can be terrible. So you know, and there are, you know, pharmaceuticals, medications that you can take to try to avoid things like this. Um, but there's also the fact that lucid dreams can also help to overcome. And it doesn't mean that once you get lucid, you're going to control everything and it's going to be totally fine. It took me a long time to overcome um, sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and you know, it was kind of a life-changing experience in a way because I had a lot of sleep paralysis and lucid nightmares actually, and it took me. I went through a process of, you know, fighting in lucid nightmares, and I would fight constantly every night. I'd be like fighting something, killing something, you know, um, and over time, the things that I fought would get stronger, and you know, in the dream there was this. I had this ability to overcome whatever enemy was there, and I felt a certain amount of energy, a power in myself. And so I would defeat this enemy by just building up this power in my mind and overcoming it. And then it seemed like over time, progressively in these nightmares, the enemy would become stronger, and I would have to have more energy and more energy to overcome it. And it's finally to the point where I wasn't strong enough anymore. I couldn't do it, and you know, you'd be surprised at how real things are in dreams, how real the pain can be. And so, you know, I was basically being tortured, like in the dream, like uncontrollable pain, intense, really high level pain. And so I just felt like I felt suicidal, and I just wanted to die. And so one night, in the dream, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna die. I don't care. Like I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna have to leave my family. That sucks, but this is just too much. I gotta go. And when I did that, um, and I just accepted it, and I was like, I'm gonna die now. And I went to into like this blackness, this void, and woke up a little while later, and felt like something had lifted. And then after that, um, I actually had a guide, a lucid dreaming guide appear in my dreams, and they completely changed everything for me. And I started learning about lucid dreaming, started lucid dreaming all the time, and I basically mastered it essentially. Um, and you know, I wouldn't expect that to happen for everybody. It was something I had no idea what was going on. I had no words for it. I was just kind of being forced along, experiencing it. Um, And I don't think that's really the common, and I don't think that really helps. That, I don't really have a lot of good advice because um, a lot of this is expectations and conditioning. And so you actually have to condition yourself to believe that, you can do things. Um, and that can be really hard. It can seem impossible. Yeah, too many written guides claim you must have it to lucid dream. Yeah, that's true. That's that's probably the main reason why people try to have it. Yeah, because they're psychopaths. Yep, that's indeed, indeed. All right, I think we'll go through one more and then I'm gonna hop off. I sleep much more than usual since I learned how to LD regularly. I used to sleep about 7.5 to 8.5 hours. Now usually it's 10. I could go for more. My record is around 13.5 hours. I don't know if this is normal healthy, but I feel pretty good. I'm frequent, longer, but not much. Surprisingly, my family thinks it's really weird, but I think it's cool. Nah, it's fully refreshed, but I can choose to go to sleep regardless. Okay. So this one is like um, when you get better at lucid dreaming, and you start paying attention to your sleep more, you may actually begin to start being able to control how sleepy you are and how much sleep you can have. At the same time, it's entirely possible that this person is experiencing some interrupted REM and that their brain is reacting by trying to get more REM. Um, it's not exactly clear. You'd have to do some kind of sleep study. You'd have to have monitor their EEG and really like try to figure out what's going on with their brain to really have a good answer. Let's see what other people say here. Effective cell regeneration. Well, that's different. Uh-huh. I've accidentally trained myself to wake up 2 to 3 times a night in order to record my dreams. The crazy part, I'm actually sleeping better. It's like I'll go to bed at 11, dream, wake up at 3, back to bed, dream, wake up at 5, sleep, dream, wake up at 8. Okay. So it depends on how you're waking up. Are you waking up naturally? Are you waking up with an alarm? If you're waking up naturally, um, that's not a problem. Um, and you're sleeping better than ever. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Again, to really know what's going on, you'd have to get a device on their brain. But if you're starting to establish patterns of sleep, paying more attention to your sleep and establishing certain patterns and having yourself expect those patterns, that in itself could be um, a reason why that's happening. Um, but back to the original poster's thing here. Um, there is some. I've seen some studies about the downsides of lucid dreaming. That there is a fair amount of sleep interruption, and that's because of the techniques. So what we have here is it's possible that there could be sleep interruptions because of the lucid dreams. If you're getting lucid in REM and then you wake up and you're interrupting your REM cycle, it's entirely possible that that is actually lowering the amount of REM that you're getting, and then your brain is probably going to try to catch up later on the REM. So that could be what's happening to this person. The other person that was mentioning here, Dream Dive, I don't think that's what's happening with them. I think the Dream Dive person has actually managed to make their sleep more habituated, um, and allow their brain to actually expect and set a habit. Whereas the original poster here may actually be experiencing some interrupted REM because of the lucid dreams. So, especially if they're using alarms, to wake up. And they're also sleeping 11 to 12 hours. It depends on how old they are as well, because if you're a teenager, you could, this isn't exactly unnatural for teenagers to sleep longer. And it's entirely possible that because they're allowing themselves through lucid dreaming, they're saying, okay, I want to sleep more because I want more lucid dreams. There could be some like deep conditioning hours and that's it. And then, because you're lucid dreaming and stuff, then all of a sudden your habits change. And, this doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy. Teenagers can go like, I think up to like 10 hours. Pretty normal range. Yeah, so according to John Hopkins, teens need 9 to 9.5 hours per night. And I think it's the teen years where there's certain times of where in life where you'll get more or less sleep. So yeah, I don't think that person is actually very much outside a healthy range. So it's interesting. So it seems maybe their lucid dreaming improved their sleep quality. I'm almost curious. Like, I wonder if awareness during awakenings, like creating a more delineated pattern, like more like solid blocks, rather than like going in and out of sleep a lot. I don't know. I really don't know. This is interesting. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. Um, Thank you everybody for the questions. I really appreciate that. And I will try to split this video up into chapters so that people can watch it. All the lives I do are pretty long, so I want to make sure that I add chapters so people can skip to the parts they want to watch. All right, we'll see everybody next time.